Hey everybody, how you doing? Welcome to SketchCraft Live. I'm Rob Duenas, graphic artist Esquire, and if you're joining in for the very first time, you should know that we typically rant about art, movie, and comic-related news stuff chosen by myself or you, the audience, or the group who joins me again this week. Brandon, let Heavy James say hello.
Hello.
And always Ashley West from gangfeather.com. Say hi.
Hey,
Hey, how's everyone doing this week, right?
pretty good.
Fantastic.
Awesome. So, all right, Brandon, I'm going to let you go ahead and pick something up off the list, and let's chat away for a while. Let's talk about some stuff.
Okay. Why don't we talk about dropping in high-res line art into Photoshop?
Actually, Ashley had that question. So, Ashley?
Okay.
I thought I could pick from anybody's topic. My bad.
Okay, so basically, this is good because I have this open right now. So, basically, I remember I asked Rob a while ago, like, hey, I normally color in 600 DPI, and he's like, wait, stop right there. Don't do that. That's dumb. You should color in lower res and then drop in your high res line arts. So, right, and that's because it's hard for your computer to handle that much, at once, that high power, that high res. It's just too much. And you get the little hourglass that pops up on the screen, and usually ends up in Photoshop, quitting unexpectedly. So that's the reason for, I guess, coloring in low res. So what I am asking is there a way to like register your line arts with the lower res? Because I feel like that's going to be like guesswork.
No, paste in place.
Paste it. Okay, so paste in place.
Select all,
Okay.
copy, and then edit, paste in place. Or you can hold the shift key and drag from one document to the other, and it will paste in place.
Oh, okay. Wait,
You never
so,
have to.
okay, see, that's why I always make things harder on myself because I don't know all the shortcuts. So let me write that down.
So they're of equal resolution, right?
Do I just drag?
Let me explain to you the process, right? So
Yeah, do that.
you scan your line arts in at 600 DPI, correct? And that's because the reason why, folks, is because you want really clean lines. You want less artifacts. You scan it at 600 DPI. You tweak them, make sure they're all crispy, then down-res them to 400 DPI. Because 400 DPI is the resolution at which it's good for everything, and that's generally what you have to submit to publishers anyway. That means they can blow it up to a poster if they need to. It's good for the comic book. 400 DPI is good. You can color at 150. If you have a low RAM or you're just trying to save resources, everyone else did up until we got a ton of RAM. People just color at 400 DPI, which, by the way, like when I'm coloring my prints, I color at 400 DPI, but I shrink them down to 6 by 10, wherever that equal from 11 by 17 difference is. It's the equivalent of coloring at 150 DPI. So it doesn't matter. It's pixel width. So while you're coloring at 150 DPI, you want to then up-res your colors, correct? And make sure the line arts line right up to everything you did. So what resolution are you coloring at right now?
200.
200 is fine. 150 to 200 is perfect. All right, don't you go below 150, me. Like 200, above 200, you're getting up there.
Yeah.
But 200 is fine. So what you do is you have a copy of your 400 DPI line arts, right? Okay. You make a copy of, I always like to work with the copy, so I'm not fucking with my original file. You have your 200 DPI file. I just duplicate in the history window really quick. If you go to history, there's a duplicate button. Do you know about that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, window, history, there's a little icon. You click it, it duplicates your whole document into a whole new untitled.psd, whatever. Then go image size, change it back to 400 DPI, right? So it up-reses the art. And then you can just take your line arts, go back to your 400 DPI file, copy those, and paste in place, and they'll line right up.
And so the paste in place, I select everything, and then you just go to edit.
Copy,
paste in
select
place?
all,
Copy. Okay.
copy, and then go to your next document, paste in place, or you can grab it and shift and drag. My opinion is, though, it's better to get used to pasting in place.
Yeah.
Which is like Shift Control V or something. Yeah, it's like but you can go edit, paste in place, and You'll get used to it. You can make
Yeah.
a little quick key button. And so long as the resolution and the pixels are the same between both documents, when you do that, it will paste it in the exact same place you left it.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. See, I think that was what I was like. So, am I taking something that's 200 DPI and then putting it on a higher res, and then like, okay, that makes sense now.
Yeah, you don't want to be in there like shifting it around and moving.
Yeah.
Yeah, I learned that technique really quickly in t-shirts because we constantly had to take, when you've worked in shirts, right?
Yeah.
Making your own, but if you're taking things from elements, you have to move them around all the time. And
Yeah.
we would have to open up other artists' files, drag them, put them in your file, and very quickly I was like, how are you guys doing this so fast? Because I would take everything and drag it in, have to move it, and they're like, just hold the damn shift key down, Rob. And then I just figured out paste in place is the same thing. I refrain from dragging things from one document to the other because it can get weird.
Yeah.
And you can make the mistake, especially on a Mac, of dragging it to the desktop and not even actually. It's just you just want to be careful about dragging
Yeah.
things from one file to the next.
Okay.
Paste in
That's
place.
awesome. Okay, so like one small recap. So when I select it and I select all and then copy
The line
and that,
arts.
and then it's gonna okay, and then I go over to the other document.
Yeah, to your
the
upres. So
line arts.
you start with your high res 400 DPI. You copy, select all copy those line arts. Go back to the file you just upres that have the blurry line arts but good colors,
Uh-huh.
right? You paste it in place over the blurry lines and turn off or delete the old layer,
Okay.
and they line right up.
Okay. So we're taking the line arts and putting
That's
them
it.
on the colors,
Yeah,
not the other way
because
around.
color upreses.
Yeah. Okay.
You don't have to worry about the color. It's the lines that will turn to holy shit. Oh
Yeah.
no, they're all messed up. They're blurry or jagged and pixeled and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
Okay.
And that's actually how I was trying to explain to people. That's how they colored comics before we had 32 gigs of RAM. I mean, they used to color these things with like 256 megabytes of RAM, and like when in the 90s, I used to bug the shit out of those Top Cow guys. They were the only ones at Comic Con who brought a Mac with them and had Photoshop open, and I would just question the shit out of them. That was the first time I ever seen a computer. I was like, "This is photo. You use this. This is how you color these things." Because the Top Cow books looked way different, and the Wildstorm books looked way different than, even Spawn at the time. Like they just had a different look to them, and I was like, "Why are you doing that? We're using Photoshop." I met Brian Haberlin when he first started over there. He was using lens flares. And I was like, lens flares are amazing, And he's like, well, hold on now. Don't go lens flare crazy. Like,
Yeah.
so, Does that help?
Yes, it does.
All right, cool. Okay, Brandon, why don't you pick one of your topics?
Yay! All right. So let's say you get good enough to have an editor of a book want you to work on it, but the editor asks you to basically copy the style of the previous artist or the look of the book. Now, do you take that as an opportunity to work on a book, or do you decline because you don't feel comfortable mimicking someone else's style?
That depends. Do you? I mean, I'll be honest, folks. There's no right or wrong answer for this. If you're making a sole living, at comics, and you want to keep your job, how do I say this? There's no such thing as stealing an art style. What the mistake would be is if you start to redraw previously drawn panels and poses that someone else already drew, and then you're just
Right.
trying to mimic that, which no editor is going to be cool with anyway. So I think for myself, I have encountered situations where companies have been like, "We want you to draw this book," and I'm like, "All right, cool, but can you draw like this guy?" And I think Sean Galloway was a big one that used to come up like 2009, like Monstrates. And I said, at the time I was like, they're like, it'll be things will get drawn really faster because he draws simply. And I'm like, yeah, but for me, like, I'll spend all fucking day trying to like, I mean, you have to figure out if you're right for a project.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, if you enjoy drawing really monstery stuff, and the only job being offered to you is My Little Pony, and you're really not comfortable or capable of stepping outside that boundary, then style or not, you're not going to be able to deal with anything.
So it just comes down to what you feel as though you could be comfortable doing and producing the best art.
And try to always push it forward. I mean, be respectful of the person like there's one of two reasons why they're doing that. One, case in point, I think this is valid. If you remember in the mid '90s, Brandon,
Hmm.
I don't know, maybe later, there was a book called Wetworks, right? That
Yep.
Willis Portasio took 7 years to make. It was a big long ordeal. He made it. It was this, Wildcats, Team Seven war book with monsters, right? It's
Right.
gothic. It was dark, and then, all of a sudden, the book turned into like a cartoonish Ed McGuinness style book.
Right.
It went very cartoony. Now, you know me, I love my cartoons. But I wasn't going to Wildstorm for cartoony, bright characters. I wanted my dark, evil shit, And
Right. Your dark, your Sylvester looking
right,
type
and
stuff.
maybe if there was a reason from a storytelling standpoint, or they were flipping the entire tone of the book from a writing standpoint to something else, or if it had started that way and it was dark, but when you have a tone and then you flip it, you have to be very careful, that you don't lose most of your audience.
Right.
And
Because you can't take a book about like SWAT team type guys serious when they're cartoon.
yeah, you can. I mean, there's sort of an
And now,
anime, but you have
what
to
I'm saying,
start
when
that way.
that's
You
what
have
I'm
to
saying.
start
When
that way.
it goes from the serious tone to more happier, softer look.
Case in point, we all like Attack on Titan here, right?
Yeah.
I haven't watched it. Only because I don't know if I don't know.
You don't like violence. I forgot.
I do like it, but there's certain things that kind of freak me out, and that
This will
show
do it.
might be one of them.
Okay,
Yeah.
so, but let's just say season 2 comes out, and it looks like Jim Lee drew it. How well do you think that'll go with the audience?
Not very well.
Or Frank quietly drew it. Not very well. It's not that that is the wrong tone for the story. It's that it started this way, and then it became this other thing. And in order for it to change, a good point would be, remember when Wildcats went from Jim Lee, and then Wildcats 3.0 came out, and Travis Charest made them all realistic and stuff. The
Yeah.
story then changed to reflect that art style. It became smaller, less giant sci-fi, more like urban combat kind of situation with some fantastical elements, but more
Right.
grittier, more low key, right?
Hmm.
So the story has to change with it. If you're just going to come onto a book and start drawing willy-nilly, fucking whatever you want, and it doesn't meet the tone of your readership, I mean, you are trying to take care of your readers, right? You don't want to lose. No one wants to be that person who joined on a project and everyone stopped buying it because you joined on, right? So,
Right.
that being said, I do think that there is a line in terms of when someone has an influence. Let's say you really like J. Scott Campbell.
Hmm.
You want to draw J. Scott Campbell style things like Danger Girl and stuff. That's great. But all of your poses come from previously drawn J. Scott Campbell art. That's a fucking problem. And I don't care how many Facebook likes y'all get. I don't care if you got people lined up around the street. Ethically, redrawing someone else's art and making a living off it, is just, I don't personally know how you can live with yourself. And it's not like my own opinion saying that. It's from coming, when I was a kid, I went to Comic Con and I would watch people like Neil Adam, Todd McFarlane, Jim Lee, even, when he was far more easy to get a hold of. These people would be looking at portfolio samples all the time, and this is what they would say. Like if at the time I first saw Jim Lee at Comic Con, it was right before Image. He was at this Marvel desk, and people were like showing him stuff. And granted, if you went to work on X-Men in the early 90s, you would be expected to have a Jim Lee sort of style. But that would be because that was a house style. But if you show them a portfolio filled with redrawn Jim Lee poses, then you're just a plagiarist. And they would go, that's from not Spawn, but that's from Batman, year one. This is from,
They would call out the
Punisher.
issue or
Oh
book.
yeah, I saw Neil Adams do it. That's the first time I'd ever seen that. Just rip this guy to shred, and he looked right at me. This is like my first 30 minutes of Comic Con, San Diego. He looked right at me, and he was like, "Look," and he pointed, and he said, "You pay attention." Like I was like, "Damn, dude!" And later on, when I made friends with his son Joel Adams, who's a damn good artist in his own right, I told him that story, and he was like, "Ah, that's my dad. He's an old dad."
Yeah,
But,
Neil Adams he's a pretty confident person.
and he has every right to be.
Yeah, I like him. He's cool.
He's a good guy. Does that answer your question, Brandon?
Yeah, definitely.
Actually, did any of these topics interest you? Brandon put a lot on the board tonight, so I want to
Yeah, I did watch the Suicide Squad trailer, so I guess we could talk about that one. So, the new
Yeah,
one.
we were gonna do a big trailer reaction thing, and then one of two things happened. My mom's funeral kind of got in the way, and then the Fine brothers decided to trademark the word react, and I started to boycott anything react. So now that that's all resolved and they've apologized, we
Huh.
can react, but in the podcast. So I find Brendan, did you watch it?
I did.
You did. So you asked me yesterday if I'd seen it. So then this morning, after the Fine brothers, you know, recanted their whole trademark nonsense, I sat down and watched the Suicide Squad trailer. And I want to know what you thought, Ashley. You tell me.
Well, okay. I mean, I know that I think it's weird because the first trailer was completely different in tone, and this one obviously was to Queen, and it was more, supposed to be funny. And I think I'm kind of like it looks really good to me, but I'm kind of confused as to whether we're gonna get a serious movie or we're gonna get one that's kind of supposed to be funny and lighthearted. You know, like I don't know. I mean, can you answer? Do you know for a fact?
I think you're going to get both. You ever see a movie called American Werewolf in London?
No.
Okay. Yeah, if you ever want to have nightmares, right? Watch this movie. It was directed by John Landis, I believe, right? And look that one up, Brandon. And it came out in the early '80s, and it was it was really conflicting at the time for the people who watched it because it was one part comedy. It was about these two guys that go backpacking through Europe, typical college kind of situation. One of them gets scratched by a wolf while they're out hiking, and he ends up becoming a werewolf. That's the premise of the film, no spoilers. And it has some of the most frightening moments in a movie I have ever seen in my entire fucking to this day. And then at the same time, some of the funniest moments. There's this great comedy routine where his one friend's undead and he's joking back and forth. And everyone at the time, the reviews were, is it a comedy? Is it horror? We don't know. And it kind of got poorly reviewed. But after 20 years, it's one of those movies people look back and go, man, that movie, it can't be pinned down, you know? So one thing I would keep in mind is this really is the first trailer for Suicide Squad. The what we saw before was something a sizzle reel that they made for
Okay.
Comic Con
Okay. Yeah.
that leaked, and then they said, "Look, we'd rather have the high res version of this get leaked out." You know what I mean? Than this version of it, it's poor quality. So remember they even put on the internet, you people, like shame on you, internet, you know. like,
Yeah.
so so yeah, I mean, on one hand, I mean, I think you're gonna get both. I think you're gonna get horror. If it does it right, it should they should be bad guys that have to go up against worse guys. They should not
Right.
be bad guys who are acting heroically. You know.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
yeah,
And I mean, again, it looks good. I mean, I know it's just a trailer, and it may not be very good, but I mean, I don't know. I think they're doing pretty good on the trailers. That's all.
I
I
think
think.
between that and Batman v Superman, Warner's firmly has their own look compared to Marvel. Like I think, between those two films, you can't get those mistaken for Civil War or Ant Man,
Right.
or
Yeah.
Thor. Like they have their own tone, and I think we should all give them at least 5 movies to settle into what that complete universe tone will be, one way or the other. Because fuck, we've already had 12 Marvel movies. That took them
Yeah.
forever.
Well, also, obviously, like DC is darker than Marvel, so I mean, they always have this like
That's so weird you say that.
it does it does like
You
the
you
movies
think
are
that now? When I was a kid, it was like Marvel's realistic, DC's comic book bullshit, and then Batman: The Dark Knight Returns came out, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, there's one
yeah
dark book at DC." But up until Jim, see, I always believe this. Like the key to DC's success is Jim Lee. Like, like,
yeah
I might get fans would be blasphemous, Rob. Oh, but it's true. Like, there's an DC before Jim Lee and there's DC after. Like, and I think it's
right.
clear to see the two. But
Well,
go ahead.
I was gonna say I have heard that in the past Marvel used to be kind of it was flip flop where Marvel was the the place you wanted. I guess it was. I thought somebody said it was like they would much rather have been working on Marvel than DC. Like that was the place to be. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, well, you had
What
Frank
that.
Miller with his stuff
Yeah.
on, Daredevil, Elektra, even Chris Claremont's X Men stuff was dark. The Dark Phoenix saga, Days of the Future Past. in the 80s they had this whole thing with the Extinction Agenda and the Reavers, which were these crazy like Mad Max versions of the mutants that merged with cyberkinetic. I mean, it was pretty violently dark stuff up until 93, 94, up until the Clone Saga thing. I mean, shit, really, when you look at it, Age of Apocalypse is pretty dark, you know? So, I don't know, man. I mean, like, at some point it kind of switched where the main stuff kind of became, well, I mean, it's still fairly, yeah, that is weird. Why does DC seem darker to me now than Marvel, even though in Marvel books, Hulk rips dudes in half?
I think it's because of the cinematic universe. I don't know, because like I feel like they tried to make it very family friendly, whereas DC is kind of like not as
See, the
much.
cinematic stuff is what you're thinking of. I'm thinking back to the
Yeah.
comics.
Well, and that I guess, but I don't know. Do you think cinematic can have a can sway your opinion nowadays, or you still keep it separated?
Well, I don't buy many comics, and I go to the movies,
Right.
so.
Yeah. I
You
mean,
know?
yeah. Same. Well, I don't know. I don't even watch. I mean, I'm not the type of person to like go to the movies to watch a movie. I'll just wait till it comes out. So I've only seen like half of them probably that have come out. Because I
Well,
mean,
you're in an age where like it's $16 a movie basically, at least here, you
yeah.
know.
Well,
So
and every movie that comes out is a superhero movie because we're like in that. I mean, basically, we're like it's like westerns now, except not westerns. It's superhero movies.
careful about repeating talking points though, Ashley, because there's only 8 superhero movies this year, and I assure you, there's like 300, 400 plus films going to the cinema. You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
you
no,
may
but
not
that's
see all of them,
what
and they
I
may not
mean.
have $100 million marketing campaigns,
You're
but
right. You're right. And yeah, I take it back. I take it back. But I think the problem is the only movies that are talked about no, that's
no,
not
we're
true.
comic geeks. That's what we look.
That's,
It's like
yeah, and
it's like
that's the
Schnepp says.
thing.
We're all sweaties, right? So we get when we're talking sweaty, we're talking comic book stuff. And right now
Yeah.
we have a lot more to talk about than we ever have. I mean, beyond the movies, we're getting like 10 hours of Daredevil and 10 hours of Luke Cage and fucking
Yeah, I
20
guess you're
hours of
right.
Flash. You know, like
You're right. Well, no, I have to take that back because what's happening is basically I'm in a world where I hear this like my demographic is all around me, so this is all I'm hearing all the time, and it's like I'm in a bubble. So you're right about that. So,
Brandon, what did you think about the Suicide Squad
Oh
trailer?
yeah, I get to chime in. So first off, yes, John Landis did direct that movie, and it came out in 1981. As for the Suicide Squad trailer, I fucking loved it. I thought the music was perfect, the tone was great, great mix of action with comedy. I think it's the closest thing we'll get to a Bruce Timm Batman animated world. The way Harley Quinn and all those characters are portrayed, where they're very over the top, but they match what I seen in that cartoon. Just like Harley Quinn busting the glass open to steal that purse, that's totally from like in her origins where she would do that. She would be chasing Batman or fighting Robin or something, and she would stop to get a purse or a bracelet, and I loved it. And I think I think this movie shows more comic book feel than most of the Marvel movies. I know the Marvel movies, they got Thor and all that stuff, but this movie, them in their suits, their looks, they got Killer Croc, an actual alligator man who's got a cell full with water and shit. And I liked it. I liked the cartoon comic book feel of it, and I know people think that, like I just said, maybe a darker tone in DC movies, but I think the opposite. I think it's more animated and fun than a serious Thor movie where he has to go talk to his nutty professor friend. I mean,
Wow, you just went right out there and attacked a
oh,
bunch
I
of
did
other Marvel films.
last
But
Thor
how does
movie.
it rank against
Last
your wonderful Turtles masterpiece, Brandon? Like,
the first one or the Marvel
whatever, man.
reboot?
You like them both, dude. You know you're gonna be sweating it up, right, in the
I
theater for Turtles too. You
I
know
love.
it.
I'm gonna see the Turtles too. I will. I love Ninja Turtles. Obviously, got them tattooed on me. I love them. So I'll be thick and thin, till death do us part. I stick with them like a bad relationship. But the Suicide Squad trailer actually, like, I can't say I'm more excited than the Batman movie, but this definitely made me more excited than Civil War. Like, I was all hyped for Civil War. Then I saw this new Suicide Squad trailer, and I'm like,
Okay.
yeah,
Well, I would say this. I agree with some of your stuff, and I disagree with some of that other shit you said.
that's normal.
For me, I thought that, I have here's the thing. The first music I ever heard on God's green earth, or remember hearing on the radio, was Another One Bites the Dust by Freddie Mercury and Queen, like when it was new. And so it was like I started singing it. I was like, oh, I like this, and so I'm a big fan of Freddie Mercury. Highlander, that was my, childhood all the way up until, unfortunately the day he passed away. So like when Wayne's World came out, I was like, oh yeah, that's awesome, Queen. So I must watch Queen concert. I mean, you remember when Grand Theft Auto 5 came out, Brandon? I was nothing but Radio Gaga over here for you remember, you're like, why are you listening to Radio Gaga over and over? I'm like, Freddie Mercury's rules, greatest voice ever. So I was so happy to see that paired up with the trailer and to know that Queen got a payday. Those other guys are seeing some money because Lord knows Freddie did get the lion's share initially.
Right.
I wouldn't say it's the closest we'll ever get to the Bruce Timm universe because with the way things are going, they're getting more. Once Deadpool hits, 5 years from now, man, I could easily see a situation where we're getting nothing but, like Bruce Timm style stuff from DC. You never know, the way this stuff works out. So we're getting more toward that comic book universe now, which I like. I think with this trailer, some of the stuff I really like seeing was like the helicopters going through real buildings and stuff like that. I like the heist stuff. The Joker's downright. I mean, he's somewhere between like the actual 1969, 66 Batman, the Caesar Romero.
Caesar Romero, yeah.
Yeah, he's somewhere between that and a fucking nightmare. Like he looks he looks pretty disgusting. So I thought it was a fun trailer. It's good times, I mean, it's tough when you're in the theater. I think one guy booed it when I saw the Hateful Eight. It was playing in front of that. I went and saw that.
Back of the head.
Yeah, I went and saw that last night, and one guy booed, and I was just like, who boos a trailer? Like, I mean, really? Like, the funniest though is you ever been in a movie premiere and everyone's clapping for everything, and then one trailer goes up and it's dead silent afterward.
Right.
That's never a good idea. So, I thought it was really cool. I don't get too hyped up about trailers though, because as the Phantom Menace has proven, all's fair until the damn movie drops. Like an uninteresting trailer. Look, the fucking Matrix. I didn't like the trailer. I don't care what anyone said when that came out. I was like, another Johnny Mnemonic science fiction sci-fi movie. Who gives a shit? The original Mummy, the 1999 Mummy movie, didn't care about that trailer. So I saw the movie, So I think it's a good trailer. I hope it lives up to the, David Ayer. He directed Fury, which was a pretty fucking awesome film, man. If you haven't seen it, about all my tank buddies, my tank brethren back in World War II. So that's a pretty awesome film if you haven't seen it. I hope the movie fulfills the promise. It could end up being that unsung, that underdog, that comes out and everyone's like, damn, that was like Guardians but darker,
Right, a misfit crew.
Yeah. So I think thumbs up for me, Brandon.
2 thumbs up.
Ashley.
Yep. Thumbs up.
All right, let's see what else we got.
Way to be focused.
Come on, Brandon, pick one.
You want me to pick? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to talk about this one. I know you didn't watch it, but The Heroes Reborn, okay? Got canceled.
The show or the Rob Liefeld thing?
The show, I'm sorry. The NBC show that came back and lasted 1 season, and apparently it's got canceled again. Now, I watched it all the way through. I will admit the first 7 episodes aren't that great, but that's any
There's
show,
only 13 episodes.
right? It's the first half. The first half, it's not bad, but it's not great. It's got good build up, but the end of it, the last 3 episodes were, in my mind, really great. Really great writing. The story, they fleshed out the characters really well, and it's a shame that shows like that with people's attention span and the hype that I miss my old heroes, get canceled like that. Now, do you think it's a bad thing to dipping into the well, to go back and try to redo a story or add on to an old story, or do you think things like that can work pretty well?
Sherlock. Most of those are like 100-year-old stories, man.
Right.
So, a lot of those Bible movies. Uh, yeah, it's just fine, Brandon. Um, I mean, I'm glad that you like the Heroes Reborn stuff, but no one seems to like this thing. Like no one liked it, except maybe you. And you were the guy who tried to talk me into Rumpelstiltskin. So I think you
I
should.
knew that was going to come up.
I'm just amazed that you sat through 13 hours of Heroes Reborn, but I can't get you to watch half the fucking animes that aren't nearly as long, like Shiro Bako.
I loved Heroes when it first came out, and then that's why I went back to it. It's just like the new Turtles movie. It wasn't great, but I went back to it because I love Turtles. And then
you bought
things
it. You didn't go back to it. You bought into it.
I bought into it. Okay, well, I mean, it's just like comic books nowadays. They did the Secret Wars, and now they do the Secret Wars again. They did Civil War already, and now I recently read they're doing Civil War 2. So, I mean, it's just a lot of people are dipping back into recycled stories they've already done, and I think it could work, but I think people don't give it the time to let it develop. I think they're just so quick to what they used to love.
13 episodes, an hour each, is a pretty good amount of time to get to the point. Don't you think? I mean, we're in like movies getting out 2 hours, 2.5 hours at the top end.
I think it deserved a second season.
Well, so apparently the ratings did not.
Anyone who's listening, let Heavy know.
I thought Firefly deserved a second season. Matter of fact, I would say anyone who's ever seen Firefly, except for the people running Fox in 2003 or whenever it came out. 2002. Brandon, like the ratings weren't there.
So did you like the movie?
Firefly?
Serenity.
Yeah, I liked Firefly and Serenity, but Heroes Reborn, I mean, look, Heroes, when it came out, I was watching, I'm like, wow, the Watchmen movie's screwed. Like no matter what happens now, because Heroes is just, the first season is just basically the Watchmen. A conspiracy to, create a fake disaster, to create peace on Earth, and a all-powerful, time-manipulating, superpower dude is the key. I mean, come on, that's what it is. Like, it's.
Yeah, I mean, well, some could say that the second season or third season was like Days of Future Past, rounding them up.
Some could say no one watched it, because it was so mind-numbingly weird and off kilter. Here's my thing: it had the name Heroes Reborn. Why? Then I felt they were doomed from the name. Like they went with, if those guys ever read comics, stay away from the title Heroes Reborn. Like you guys watch Collider Heroes? Nope. I'm a big Collider fan. So John Schnepp, who came up with the term sweaties, he's a director. He did the documentary on the Superman Lives. Whatever happened to Superman Lives, Kevin Smith wrote. Tim Burton was going to direct. He just had Rob Liefeld on last night.
Are you about to talk about Rob Liefeld?
Wait, is it Liefeld or Liefeld?
It's Liefeld. They asked him there. It's Liefeld. So, and I know this because when I was a kid, I asked him. He was Liefeld.
I know. I've just been hearing some things lately where they say Liefeld, and I'm like, okay, what is right and what's wrong? Okay, thanks for clearing that up.
Yeah, it's Liefeld. And I'm going to lose my track of thought. I'm losing it. It's almost on the verge. Oh, they asked him about Heroes Reborn. And he was like, yeah, they brought us to Marvel, and that was a contention for Image, and but we did this. And he totally omitted the fact where, like, they threw him out of Heroes Reborn. Like, Marvel fired him, and Jim Lee had to finish the whole thing. So, like, Heroes Reborn is not something like if Marvel decided to do Heroes Reborn again, that would be a bad idea. Because it wasn't
just like if
successful.
They did Onslaught again.
It wasn't successful. Like, Onslaught was not successful. I mean, the coolest part about Onslaught is I think did he appear in a Marvel vs. Capcom game? Like, that's it.
Yeah,
that's it. There you go. Like, that comic sucked, man. I was reading Battle Chasers. No one gave a shit about Onslaught. That's when Marvel went bankrupt. So I would stay away from the term Heroes Reborn. I just thought it was a bad idea. Furthermore, that show just, for whatever reason, just never had the right protagonist and never had a clear agenda.
I like Sylar. I thought Sylar was badass.
He's not a protagonist. He was the antagonist.
Yeah.
Pro is hero.
Yes.
Ah,
Yeah. Proactive.
cheerleader, I guess.
Well, you don't know, do you? Right? You don't know. Is it Hero?
Hero, maybe.
Is it
Hero!
Rocky's kid?
Hero.
We all love I Bendo Time and Space. Like that's it. Like that is the best part of the show, and kind of a mystery. But I think and even now I haven't seen it, but I just read an interview with David Lindelof, the guy who co-created Lost and stayed on through. You know, like they're used to that mystery box thing, the J.J. Abrams mystery box, and the guy got a lot of flack for mystery boxing the shit out of Prometheus and mystery boxing the shit out of Tomorrowland, and people think Lost, whether it passed or failed, you know, mystery boxing to be, they could never live up to the hype of the mystery box idea. And Heroes was based entirely upon the mystery box formula. What is going on? What could happen? And I just think now, like, I guess they started with that with the leftovers, and he was saying that they moved past it. You know, like, why did these things happen? Like, you just move past the mystery box formula. And Heroes, when you remove the mystery thing from it, what does it become? There isn't one guy other than we can remember. We remember Siler, you know, and Hero by Bendo Time and Space. We don't say the cheerleader, but I don't know what those things mean. Like I could tell you what Breaking Bad was about. No one could tell me what Heroes was about. They just remember some characters, kind of like the prequels. You know, like there was Anakin and Obi-Wan. What was it about? Well, there was clones. I don't know. He became Darth Vader. That's what it was about. Was it? Was it really about that? Or did it just happen the last 3 minutes, or maybe the last 3 episodes of your series, and then you're like, I liked it. Right. So, was it bad? Probably not. Was it worth the amount of money they were spending? Probably not. You know, that's about the end of it. So, it's a shame, dude. I think like I believe in that limited format, the 13-part format versus 22 episodes. And I was hoping that Heroes Reborn would be a big win. But when the reviews came in, I was like, I don't need to watch more disappointing television. You know, like I could sit through season 3 of Arrow a second time and get plenty of that. So
I've given up on this season.
Oh, this season? I thought this season of Arrow was better than last season. I haven't watched it since it came back on, though, so I may be completely wrong.
That show has so many last-second saves that I just can't take it seriously anymore.
I just watched The Flash and that new Legends.
Well, I haven't got to all of it, so I don't want to get into all that. So, do we have any more art-related questions, or are we done? We can wrap this up. No, what do we got here?
Or 40 minutes.
Getting influence. No, we comment. Importance of setting goals and meeting deadlines. Is that like the importance of waking up and going to bed? Like
that's the importance of me making riveting questions here. I got
the
5.
importance of sharpening your pencil and erasing bad lines.
I got 5 topics here.
They are important. Like
They're not great topics, but I got 5 topics.
All right, so where were you going with this one? I'm curious. You reeled me in. Come on.
This hot button topic just came in. You know, it just made me think of the conversations we've had where editors will say, hey, I need my stuff by Monday. And I know we talked about this last time, but fuck you for putting me on the spot. I think it comes down to also the con. You know, we're talking about all the things we want to have ready and done and not doing it last minute. And I guess it would be setting goals and knowing when to just like push them back further. Like, do you ever have? I'm gonna round this up. It's gonna be good. This rambling's coming. Okay, Rob, do you ever have set goals and then you know at a certain point you can't reach those goals or deadlines and you make the decision to push them back further? And are you okay with that?
I do it all the time. I always quit. No, when the going gets tough, Rob gets the fuck out. Yeah, fuck this. I table flip my own shit. Like I go. Yeah, I mean it's called Game Cave. You know. As a matter of fact, the Saucies are a really good example. I started messing with those watercolor 2009. Tried 2 or 3 things and then quit and didn't do anything for 2 years. Tried it again. Did it for about a year, then stopped doing them. Did a couple here for a year later, then gave up. You know, and more than giving up, just it wasn't going the way I needed it to. So I needed to go and work on other things, and then get back to it. So
I like to think I helped pushed you with your painting.
How?
Yeah. Well, as we recall, you stopped for a while, and then you saw how well I was doing with my paintings. They weren't great, but I was still cleaning up very well at cons.
No, you're
And
talking about okay. So after 2009, I didn't paint, and then I was sitting at this con in Mesa with Tom, and I walked around. I saw you were there, and you made a few $100, and at that point, I didn't think I made nothing that con.
I made $2,000 that con.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I
So
did.
okay, whatever. So let's just I hate when you act like you made 2 grand, and I keep thinking like,
That's my only great con that I was
yeah, I
able to
know.
buy.
And so like the con where I'm like, man, if he can do this, I know I can. This guy can't even fucking draw. So like, and I know that sounds mean, but so what? So like because my like if you want to know what my opinion is whether people can draw professionally or not is if you can actually get paid to do it other than your friends. At that point, then certainly. But I saw you mostly. I don't know, man. Like that's a whole quagmire. Like some of the people on the internet the other day were like, Rob, what do you mean by that? You sound opinionated. And I'm like, well, and I actually have something to say about artists who think they're better than other people. I think. I gotta cut this up. You fucking asshole. You caught me in this quagmire. So now I got this fucking Rubik's Cube I gotta get myself out of. Dick. So, all right, here's the thing, folks. One, Brandon is not a professional artist. He's not a bad artist. Brandon does happen to be in a pretty awesome art community. Whereas Brandon, you come out here a few times. This is not a great art community in California.
No.
It's vicious, and it largely doesn't exist except in small pockets, and they're like piranha. So I wanted to talk about that later. I've never once made fun of you or been like, you can't draw. What's wrong with you? Why can't I? I think there is fear that can hold you back. And for painting with me, I feel very vulnerable because I'm not a very good painter. I don't ever claim to be. So for me, it was a vulnerability. Like, wow, I guess I can just put something out there. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't define me as a person or as an artist. That one thing just didn't work. It's okay to try something. I think sometimes when we think we do one thing, as an artist, we're like, oh wow, that's how I'm going to draw forever. Man, I drew it that one way. Now I'm pressured. I got to fucking
Right.
do this like this forever. And so, being able to flip between 3 or 4 different styles, and then seeing that you had success just doing what you enjoyed doing, was a stress reliever from my end to know that okay, I don't have to be fucking Alex Ross. I'm not even saying I don't have to be very good. That's condescending, but kind of accurate. I don't have to be super professional to at least put it out there and see what it does.
Hmm.
And for me, it freed me up in a lot of ways because that's when I started to have more of my bigger success at cons. Probably just because no one else at the time was doing anything like it. At the same time, I found myself in a point where people were commissioning them so often that they were looking worse and worse. Like I was like, I don't like any of these. I don't like anything about it. It's not working out the way I want it to. And, you can start to parody yourself when you start to produce too much of one thing over and over and over again. So I put that on a stop for myself. Like I need to step away from this stuff for a while. And I didn't make any grand announcement going to Facebook, guys. I'm not doing any more saucies until like that bullshit. I
Hmm.
just stopped. Same with when I was doing the landscape speed paintings. Those are still the #1 videos on this channel. Those speed paints that I did. I stopped after about 6 months of them because I had nowhere else to go with just inventing random shit to paint. Like I started to incorporate those techniques into my art. People ask me all the time, when are you going to make more speed paints, Rob? And I'm like, fuck, I don't have like a point to that. You know what I mean? I just draw trees and shades. And I guess the smart thing in me probably should, like do more of that because that seems to be what's working. But I haven't given a lot of other stuff a chance to work either, so I don't know. You can't just think what's going to sell for you or what's not going to sell for you or what's going to connect with someone, what's not going to connect with someone. The other thing I would say is there is a difference though between thinking you're at a certain level and this other person's at a certain level, and that difference is this. In California, working in art departments, I've always said when people ask me, should I go to art college? And I say if it's for if it's for a degree and it's not coming from an actual like university, if it's from one of these paid for art school, art institutes, art center of something or other, no, don't do it. Don't go into debt. If you really want to learn how to draw, there are these fine art places. Here we have one called Watts. They teach a lot of fine art. Fantastic illustrators. It's like $700 a class, sometimes $450 depending on how it works. They're not cheap, but you get a really good fine art curriculum. The problem I've always had is every time an artist from the art department that I would work in, and I've worked in like several around San Diego, would start to go to Watts, they come back being a pretentious asshole. Like, there's nothing I can do to fight this. Like, friends of mine that I've gotten hired, fought for years even to get them a job, have since gone to that school and now make fun of, you've seen it, make fun of my art.
Oh yeah.
You know? And I'm like, I hope that fucker is only employed.
Well,
Like,
how could they make fun of your art?
they tag it, looks like vomiting or that ass bleeding, my anus is bleeding, shit like that. Like,
What?
oh,
What
yeah, Ashley,
the-
like, I had to sit here going like, and when a friend of mine asked someone about it, what's going on? They're like, well, Rob can't get compliments all the time. Like, and you're like, that's true. Like, I
It
just
doesn't.
didn't know they were going to come from my friends. Like that's, and so I'm a big defender of Brandon. I believe Brandon has a lot of untapped potential, but Brandon needs to push himself. Like I'm not going to be like, Brandon, what you just did looks like my anus is bleeding. You know what I mean? Especially shit, Brandon, if you were getting a lot of positive, I found Brandon hit a point where he couldn't sell anything, right? Remember when I told you you're going to hit a point where I believe you'll hit a point where you can't move any forward? Because this is what happened to me in 2001. I got to a point where I couldn't move forward.
I'd say this past Phoenix Con was my artistic breaking point where, we this sucks to put it online, but fuck it. I went to the con. You weren't there the first 2 days. I made $0. I sold nothing, not a thing. One guy wanted one print. He didn't have cash. I didn't have my card reader. So, I guess I would have sold one fucking print. But, you came in. I helped push your stuff. You helped make some money. And you shared it with me, which you didn't have to. But you did and helped me out because I was in a tight spot. And we went to dinner. And I sat there. And I had that moment of just, there's no more ego. There's no more artistic ego. It's just, I need to get better. You're a person who's obviously far better artist than me. I'm going to shut up and I'm going to listen and I'm going to do what needs to be done. And I think, a lot of people say, oh, I could do what Light Heavy does. I could do flat, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, maybe you could, but not to the point where you just follow. A lot of people won't just follow. They'll have the artist ego. Like these people who are coming out of your school that have this ego that you help get them jobs. They go to a school and they feel entitled. They feel this power. And it's false, and it's like you just have to get rid of that ego. And I got, like you said, I hit that wall where I couldn't sell shit, and I just got, you know what, help me, and you are, and I'm doing what you say. I'm doing flats. I'm still learning. I'm learning Photoshop. I'm learning from you, but I'm not getting an ego about it. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm so much better now. I can draw this, draw that. But people are going to schools, and they're feeling this entitlement. And they come out and they're judging other artists instead of helping. And that's just another thing that breaks down the artist community that makes us all look bad.
It would happen like I remember one time when I first got hired, there was a girl who really struggled. She was what she called fine art, which really just, drawing leaves and flowers and shit. And she really wanted to learn perspective. So I was trying to show her, I wasn't trying to show her, a friend of mine who worked there, was trying to show her perspective, but he didn't know how to explain it because he never actually learned. He just sort of figured out how to draw, He didn't actually know. And so I was looking at what he was showing her, and he wasn't explaining it very well. And I was like, well, you got a horizon line and what's above and below, above a box, below a box. And he goes, yeah, well, something, but Rob just likes to put a big foot in your face or do this weird stuff, And I just sat there. I'm like, that's the first time I've ever had like a friend just. I think he just made fun of me, like my art.
Basically, he's saying that you like to do foreshortening.
Right, I like to do foreshortening
because it's awesome.
But he has 1 million views, right, on DeviantArt. So my opinion didn't count. Do you understand how that works?
Yeah.
And so that really,
It's all about quantity, right?
it really is sort of like, I mean, I saved this guy's ass once on a deadline he couldn't do because he couldn't draw cards. And I was like, not even great cards, just anything. And so I was like, well, all right, so that person's not going to ever get invited to, pizza party ever again. Like, I don't know. Like, it really fucked with me. And so, if I'm like hard, like Brandon's the only guy I'm hard on because that did not sound right. I'm, I'm brutally honest with Brandon because that's how I am with myself. Brandon decided to come under my instruction, so Brandon gets my level of commitment. Before that happened, was I ever like that with you, Brandon?
Not at all. I honestly.
You missed the nicer Rob.
No, it's crazy how I talk to my wife all the time. It's crazy, and some people still don't believe it, that, went from buying art from you at a con to now I talk to you twice a day and I'm doing flats on, some of your art or help, you know what I mean?
I don't have the emotional time and investment to even help everybody. Like, that's why I got the channel. Like, I try to put a lot of this stuff here and in a non-whiplash like fashion, look, this is quite, I'm trying to be helpful. But I would advise folks, don't stifle yourself. If you can wing the money, these fine art places, they're really great to get a lot of foundational painting and you learn about volume and lighting and stuff. That being said, how many comic books are drawn that way? None. You know why? It takes too fucking long. And you can't use photo reference for everything unless you're Alex Ross. And how many of those are in the industry? Like one. So, it's something to learn and something to expand your mind. But I also, on one hand, I always keep my mind, hey, Miyazaki did not draw photorealistically. Matt Groening, the creator of The Simpsons, doesn't draw photorealistically, So at the end of the day, we live in a creative entertainment world. And it's your creativity, it's the ability to create entertainment, and it's your ability to work with people, not against them, that's going to help you succeed in this industry, period. And if you compete with everybody all the time, you're going to fucking drive yourself crazy and you're going to make everyone hate you. And I, for certain, will not be giving people that act that way to me any more job references. You're all cut off, like, from here on out. Like, I'm done. Done giving people job references. So, yeah. Ash, you have any thoughts on this stuff, or?
About, like, the realism versus just, like, cartoon or whatever. Like, I mean, first of all, realism can be kind of boring after a while. It's a lot of work and it takes a lot of time. And I've done it, and I enjoy drawing cartoons far more. Like in depth, complex, like you do. We put all the muscles in there. Sometimes we even put, hair or like veins, nipples, whatever, just to like make it even more real. You don't have to put those things, but you can, whatever, it's your style, and I just think for when people crap on it like that, like, did we ask for you to do that? Like, I don't know.
It's what they do. I say whatever's going to get you to the drawing board and working all day or night is what you need to be doing, because quite frankly, if you don't have the motivation to work, then what's the point?
Yeah, like if it's inspiring to you, if you're, if it makes you, I don't know, like kind of happy,
Happy,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's most important. So, all right, good times, everybody. So that wraps up this week's episode of SketchCraft Live. Brandon, where can we find you on the internet?
You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram at LeadHeavy. Be sure to let me know how much you love Heroes Reborn, people, so I can tell Rob about it.
Ashley, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me on YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram, and I'm Gangfeather.
Perfect. And don't forget, folks, SketchCraft is recorded from a live internet audience and supported by viewers like you. Please leave your comments below. Share the videos. If you can't subscribe, share them. The views help. As always, we will see you on the next SketchCraft Live next week. Talk later. Bye.